mga amigo, my name is MJ and today I'm going to talk about all of the 11 books I have read for the month of August. So personally, I am quite surprised that I have read 11 books for the month of August because before August I was in such a bad reading slump. So having this amount of books for a month is quite astonishing for me. So without further ado, let's start. All of the books here in this list are actually quite varied. So the very first book which I have read is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. So I have read this book when I was sick, like in the first week of August, and I just want to read something while I am sick so that I can feel something. Quite unfortunately, the book which I have picked up during the time is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover, and I really did not like this book. Personally, for me, the main character is basically like manipulating the other main character, who is named Tate, so that he can move on from his previous relationship. The relationship is kind of like that. It's just basically the guy moving on from his past relationship, and he's just basically using the other girl to actually move past it. And although the things which the guy has gone through is quite traumatic, I don't think it's a very good depiction as to how this guy should move on, because it's quite sad. And I think what irked me about this book is the fact that this was broadcasted as a romance book, even though it's not a romance book at all for me, personally. The next book which I have read is actually a short story by Edgar Allan Poe, and it is named The Black Cat. So in case you still haven't read this short story, it is about a guy who is not really well on his head, and he killed a cat at first, and then the cat reincarnated, and then eventually things happened, and then the guy was led to kill his wife, and then he hid the corpse of his wife like on the walls of their house. And then when the authorities came to their house, the guy was just like, oh, the body's not here, you're not going to find anything here. And then the wall where he hid like the body of his wife actually gaped open, and like an evil scream resounded around the house. And I find that to be really scary and at the same time really interesting, and that's the main reason why I love this short story. The third book which I have read is also a short story, and it is The Mask of the Red Death by Edgar Allan Poe as well. I actually forgot like the flow of the story, but there is like a plague going on, and then there is this royalty, and he then hosted like a ball of some sorts, and then eventually like the plague actually came to them and killed all of the people like in the ball. Like, it's quite scary and also fascinating read. That's why I rate this book 5 stars, as well as The Black Cat. The fourth book which I have read is A Little Princess, and actually A Little Princess is very important in Filipino culture because there is this TV show before which is named Princess Sarah, and Princess Sarah was based on A Little Princess. So if you still haven't read A Little Princess, it is about a girl named Sarah who was sent by her father, who was currently working in India, to a boarding school in England, and she was named as Princess Sarah because her father adored her very much and sent her a lot of things such as dolls, doll houses, basically expensive stuff for a child. And then eventually her father actually went to this business adventure with regards to gold mines. Gold, or was it diamond mines? But basta, it's a mine. And then news spread that Princess Sarah was very rich now because her father has that business, and then she was hailed as Princess Sarah. Eventually, like, her father died, and then there was this news spreading again that the mines actually went bankrupt, and then Princess Sarah was then made as this servant in like the boarding house or like the boarding school basically, and she was abused in that boarding school. And then at the end, like, it was then known that Princess Sarah was the heiress of the business because the business did not went bankrupt. And personally, I just love the book for the reason that it has like a significant impact in my life because I love Princess Sarah as a kid. It's one of those shows that made me like warm and fuzzy inside every time I think about it, because I can remember following it through, like the original one and second one, because there are two kinds of TV shows, the one that was released in the 90s and the one that was released in the early 2000s, something like that. However, what I did not like about this book is that Princess Sarah was a Mary Sue-ish type of character, and then I really did not like the fact that she was being abused in the boarding school by literal adults. I just don't like that. It's really like horrible to read as an adult, because as an adult I can't think of bullying a child just because like the business went bankrupt, like their family business went bankrupt. I think that is so fucked up. And that's the main reason why I really did not like reading this book, like when I was an adult. That's why I rated this book 3 stars. The next book which I have read is actually a Filipino book, and it is Irrefutably Yours by Biyach. Now, I love Biyach as an author. I love like her game series. I really love that. It's one of the best Filipino books which I have read in quite a long time. However, reading this book is quite disappointing, because the book is horrible for me. It's about like these two top-notchers for the medical board exam, and they were given this gift for topping the board, like, and they chose like a trip to Batanes, and they met there and they kissed there. Then eventually they went back and a relationship instantly formed between them, even though they did not really know each other. And then everything happened so fast, and the girl got pregnant and they got married. Like, literally, that's what happened in the book, and it's just so fast. And I don't know if you guys know, but I love slow burn. It's one of my favorite tropes in romances. And this is not slow burn at all, and I'm quite sad and quite disappointed because I love Biyach. But I would not hold this against her because it's only one of her works which I did not like, and I rated this book 2 stars. Next books which I have read, the next 3 books, are actually like my best reads for the month of August. And the very first book which I'm going to talk about is Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. I just really love this book. In case you don't know the book, it is about a girl named Anne Shirley, who was adopted by these 2 siblings like Marilla and Matthew Cuthbert. And at first, like, they assumed that they adopted a boy, but then a paperwork like mash happened, and then eventually Anne Shirley was the one who was sent to their farm. At first Marilla was against it, and then she realized that Anne is a very precious girl and decided to keep her. So basically Anne of Green Gables is where we follow her life through Avonlea, and I just find it really heartwarming because it made me remember all of the stuff that I did as a child, because Anne is this child who is very whimsical, loves books, and just overall dreamy, and I'm like that when I was a child. And yeah, I just relate to her that much. Like, people think of her as weird because she has this like notions and different perspectives in life, and I think that's really heartwarming because it made me remember all of the stuff that I thought of as a kid. I can see myself in Anne, and I just love it. The second book which I read is the second book of the series, which is Anne of Avonlea, and it's also really fascinating because we see Anne grow as a character. However, personally, I think this book does not really resonate with me that much compared with Anne of Green Gables, because there are 2 kids here, like they adopted, like Marilla adopted like 2 twins because their mother died and all, and I really don't like the twins at all that much because I find the other twin, like the first twin is okay, but the second twin is quite rowdy, and I just don't like reading about his character. And the third book of my favorite reads of August is Anne of the Island, and it is the 3rd installment of Anne of Green Gables series, and it is about Anne going to like the college. I actually forgot the name of the college, and there she met friends and she basically grew as a woman, and she and Gilbert actually like become a couple together, and I find it to be really heartwarming because Gilbert waited for her for quite a long time, and I think it's one of the best couples which I have read in books. Anne Shirley and Gilbert is just like French kiss. Like, I just love the romance. The 9th book which I have read for the month of August is Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and personally I really love this book because I have like really great memories with the movie, and it's with Johnny Depp. And yes, I really love this book because it made me remember all of the stuff which I have watched when I was a kid because Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is one of those movies which I rewatched and rewatched as a kid because I find it to be really, really fascinating. However, reading this book made me realize as to how dark Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is. Like, for example, like the Oompa Loompas, personally, it made me sick in the stomach because it's slavery basically. Like, Willy Wonka like hired these people and made them stay in his factory because they love cocoa beans so much. But for me, that is slavery in a sense because those natives did not really know like what they signed up for, and they are just basically lured in the factory because of the cacao beans. I'm really sorry for that. Cacao beans, and yes, that made me sick in the stomach. And second, like all of the things that happened with the kids, and although I do know that the author is trying to give lessons to the kids who are reading this book, however, for me, reading that as an adult and imagining myself as the parent of those kids, it's quite horrifying. Like, the heck? Like, literally, one of the kids fell off, like, the lake. And then the tube which is sucking the chocolate actually sucked the child up. Like, it's a wonder why the child did not drown. Second, Violet became this huge blueberry. Like, literally, they need to squeeze her. And then the other kid literally went down the chute. And then Willy Wonka jokingly said that, well, let's just hope that it is not burning day. And then Mike TV literally went so little and they need to stretch him. Like, come on, that is really, really dark. And the last book which I have read is The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. I just love The Hunger Games. I've read this book when I was in college or high school. Like, in that era, basically, when I was a teen. I never realized as to how deep this book is. Like, for example, the politics here and the way people suffered because of the capital. I just really, really find it interesting reading it as an adult because I am more enlightened as to what was happening around me, and it made me understand what was happening in the book more. And before, I always thought as Katniss as badass because she was able to provide for her family, but reading it now, reading a teenager doing that, it is such a sad scene to read because I can't imagine a child, a literal child, bringing food for her family because they are hungry, because they are literally like almost dying because of hunger. And also the games are really, really horrifying to read as an adult because they are kids and they are like literally killing each other just to survive. And I don't know, that's really, really horrible. And that's why reading this book made my eyes open and it made me love the book so much more. So yeah, that's it for this video. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you have opinions, please comment down below and let's discuss. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.
Oh, 1 mile in fog patches and showers early Friday, but improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright above.